pray. Prayer's good. Thank goodness he didn't break anything. Okay, and so to show you again how this links, just to show you, this is standard 1 here. And it's all about understand how students learn. So there's my picture of students there. They're holding hands. So I'm very visual. And the first one's about the development of students. The second one's proof or information about how students learn. So you would type these words, you would type the standard as it is, and then you would show your words saying, I understand about the development of students because we did this, I did this, and I've been reflecting about how students learn, and these are some of the ideas from this unit. But you're also doing other units, so bring that work into these, excuse me, bring the work from other units. They're giving you almost answers to your assignment, bring it in. If they covered it in one of the science modules about how students learn, you're probably watching videos and information. Students learn by doing things, by seeing things, by experiencing things. Get yourself familiar with students with diverse backgrounds. And there's lots of them. There's a lot of cultures out there. There's, for example, the obvious students from overseas, Indigenous students, students from the country, students from the city, students with disability. You've got students who may have a language you haven't thought of. For example, I sign Auslan and sign English, and that's a culture. I went to a deaf community, and it's a community of its own. And there's some great signs that come with that. Yes, there is. All right. And there's a diverse amount of subcultures out there. Well, there's coastal communities, all sorts of things. Coastal kids get to go to the beach, basically. Yeah, how lucky is that? I didn't get to do that. And strategies for Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander students and meeting learning needs and students with a disability. All those sorts of things you're getting from not just our unit, but from all your units. Okay? So don't be afraid of putting them in. And put the unit. Don't go, in this unit, you know, the one with, you know, what's his name? No, be professional. In the unit of EDLT 100, whatever unit you're doing, put the title of your unit. Okay, I love quotes. And this person really got me thinking. His name's Alvin Toffler, and he has been quoted in a document called Rethinking the Future. He's been cited in a document about blended learning. He says, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So why is this relevant to you? Well, I'll tell you why. Because some of you have learned and unlearned and relearned, and you've made mistakes, and that's part of the journey. It's going to be hard. If it was easy, we wouldn't be teaching it, would we? You'd know. You would have done it at school. So there's going to be difficult aspects, and the hardest one is getting organised and fitting it in now. If you feel that the last few weeks have been full on, they have been intentionally, because there's a lot of information that you're now going to be able to use. You now have some tools at your hand and awareness that you can now use for all your assignments. For example, those of you that did the Microsoft skills, you know about headers and footers. Put your name and student number when you submit assignments. Put a nice title page in bold. Make that effort and you'll get respect, because it'll be easy to mark your assignments. You'd be surprised how many students don't ever put their name on an assignment. That won't be you though, because you've got that, you've mastered that. So small things, and reflect on your experience, because what's happening in the classroom will be happening in your professional lives. Look at the tools that you are using. Those of you that have jobs and other lives, look at the tools that you're using, because if you're in a traineeship, or you're working at a pub, or you're a waitress, or you work at some sports venue, or you do child minding, those experiences are really important. Bring them in. And you're probably using technology, even if it's the mobile phone, to keep track of yourself, even if it's to organise yourself. Some of you have your mobile phones and they go bing when your next lecture's on. Oh, you're organised. Put it in your reflection. You've got social networking tools happening. We've got the wiki and blogs, forum and fora. Fora is the correct terminology for many forums, so it's fora. And I know that because being non-English speaking background, everybody corrects me. Discussion boards, and while we're thinking of it, you want information about this unit, go to Moodle. Moodle first. You go to Facebook and go, I don't know what we're doing. I'm going to notice because I do watch. Go to Moodle first, and then if you're confused, send me an email. And then talk on Facebook to whoever you want, because it's the courtesy of the people that know, who've done the work, that are helping you. But don't just rely on that. Don't be professional. Be professional. That's the message today. Be professional. Go to Moodle. And then you can talk about, that's a learning management system you know about. You can put that in, do a screenshot. You've got the chat and video options, and we even use Adobe Connect here at UNE. And out there in the classroom land, you've got connected classrooms and podcasts, just to give you an idea of social networking tools that are out there. There's Skype and Chat, which I use. So if you've got a Skype account, it's a great tool. Some schools use it for auditioning, for rehearsing. It's even used for interviews. And as I said, in week 1, there are students out there who might not speak English very well or are new to the country, but they keep connected to their family through technology. So you'd be really surprised how great their social networking skills are. There's video, audio, text and file sharing through Skype and Chat and other equivalent tools. Discussion boards. And triangulate. Triangulate and back up your claims with examples. So you can use a picture if you've got one, a screenshot, and you can also use some academic references, and you can use sources from the internet. For example, here's a source I just threw in for you to know about. It's called Justine Mobile, the use of smartphones and tablets in the classroom. And I'm going to tell you about 3 reasons why teachers are relying on mobile technology. And the first one is that they like the learning style. Particularly me, I love it because it's audio visual. I love that. Motivation, it's motivating if it's used, if it's facilitated well. And it can be used to enhance material. So not only can I talk about an experiment, but I can show you the YouTube clip of it. Wow, yay. And sometimes I can show you things that I couldn't possibly show you in a classroom. Like how a flickering flame, if you put your hand on it, you know, those sorts of things with fire, or messy things. I can give you things to look forward to. But you can also get information from discussion boards, like, for example, TED is a great one. LinkedIn, some of you haven't looked at LinkedIn, but it's a great tool for linking up with groups of other teachers. I have a community, online community. We teach teachers how to teach. It's called Teaching Spanish, Sharing Ideas for Teaching. I've got 4,500 teachers connected, teach for free, talk to each other. It's been going for about 4 years. It keeps growing. It's just one example. And you can use newspapers. Like, for example, did you know that 85% in England, they did a survey, 85.5% had their own mobile phones, because I didn't know that, and that 72% of those students also owned books. In other words, out of 17,000 students from the ages of 7 to 16, they've got a lot of mobile phones on them, so maybe it's time to use them. You can also use sources, references for informing yourself, teaching yourself about things. And if you are using YouTube clips and you're quoting, make sure you use inverted commas and you reference where it's coming from. Don't just put a link in there. It means nothing to us. Just tell us what it is. Be thorough about it, because if you're thorough now, you'll be able to look at that later on if you need it for another area. And those are hyperlinked, by the way, so if you want to see those, you can look at them in your own time. Wiki. What you didn't know about a wiki is wikis are used in schools for group work. They're for collaboration and sharing and for classwork. So you've got 4 people here using a pen, and that's an exaggerated, dramatic example of what happens electronically. And if you can do that, can you do that? That's what wiki stands for. It's a Hawaiian for hello, wiki, if you didn't know that. But lucky that you can also use it as a personal use to create your own e-portfolio. So those of you that are using wikis, not only can you create one to share and everybody work on a project, but you can set the parameters so that it's used like a website for an e-portfolio. what's exciting and attractive about a wiki and why it's used in schools. It's easy. Once you've got an account and you've set up a wiki space, a little space in the virtual world, it's a matter of hitting the edit button and away you go. You see the same things you've seen in a Microsoft Word document: bold, edit, italics, insert an image, link a file, hyperlink. So let's talk about marking tools, A+. This part of the presentation is going to be fast. It's about some of the things that are possible for you. Do you know the difference between these two phrases? One says, "Let's eat grandma." And the other one says, "Let's eat grandma." Very different. And the message there is, watch the way you write essays, watch for punctuation. It makes a difference. It really is important to get in the habit of writing academically straight up. Use the commas where they're meant to be so that we really do know which one you mean. The first one is "let's eat your grandmother," and the other one's "let's eat with your grandmother." It's a big difference. So before you go ahead and mark and check your settings on your whatever program you're using, if you're using WordPerfect, Microsoft Word, check your settings. There's a section to set spelling and grammar. Grandma's on my brain now. Grammar. So, for example, you want to have the English Australian settings so that you've got the right spelling for organised, jail, humour, socks, etc. There's highlighting tools. Highlighting tools can be used to give positive feedback on things. Wow, you spelled this word well. Now, when students use technology, you know that it's got that ability to spell check, and students might use big words, but they didn't really spell it. They know how to use the spelling checker. So sometimes as a teacher, you might have to highlight the bigger words and say, "That's really great, Amanda. Why don't you put that up on your spelling list for you to keep practicing?" Because you can't guarantee that every time a student uses a word processing format that they've genuinely come up with that spelling all by themselves. So that's a way to check, get them to go and revisit that. And it's also used to point out things like the nouns, doing words, all those sorts of things. But it's also used to correct things. So you might highlight for the class everything that's been highlighted yellow this week needs formatting, embolden. There's a feature called track changes, and it's used a lot in the editing world. So if you sent me, for example, over here, you sent me, "Oh, have a check of this." I look at it and I make some changes. When you get it back, you can accept the changes or reject them. They're my suggestions. I'm doing that with a colleague of mine wants me to review things. We use track changes. So it's there if you want to use it. And that's for that bit in the assignment. There's a section called Joe's example. It's an example. So we're not looking at how brilliantly you mark it. We're looking at how brilliantly you use marking tools. But if you find a mistake, yeah, go for it. That's great. But it's like when you buy a sewing machine, okay? When you buy a sewing machine and you're at the shop, they give you a little piece of material and they try all the settings there. I'm not going to wear that. I'm not going to wear that thing of samples. It's a sample. So it's the same for that little paragraph. We've only given you a little paragraph. So if you find that track changes wrecks it all, copy it, put it in a separate document. But, you could give us little samples. We didn't say you couldn't grab it and put it in to little sections, show us how the tools work, show us all the tools you can think of. That's what that part of the assignment's about. The possibilities that you could use for marking tools. There's a comment box. You click on the comment box, new comment here, and you select, then click new comment, and it'll come up like this. This paragraph needs a little work. A couple of words need checking. For example, the word "you are." All right. Then there's things like shapes and call-out boxes used in cartoons. That's probably where you've seen it. You can use those for marking. This is great job, Freddie. Keep up the good work. I noticed this paragraph here is very imaginative. Well done. Or this paragraph here needs a little bit of work. All right, and tools for praise. Now, you should have all got a well done from me, because when I had you submit that's the on-campus students who did the tutorials. If you did sent me your first all about you, I sent you a well done. If you didn't see it, well, you should check your email. It's at the very bottom. But you can use tools for praise. And you can use tools for guidance. Hyperlinks are really good for this because you can send the student to